I see what home chaps and chappets, Game Chap and Bertie here.
Yes.
Yes, fellows, and I dare say we are now presenting our wrap-up and roundup of sorts here at the end of 2014, or almost at the end, I say,
yes,
of the best Nintendo games of this past year. So do have a look and see what you think of our list, I say.
Most certainly. Now, they've brought a lot of games out this year, of course, on the 3DS and on the Wii U as well. There's been lots of excitement about those games and less excitement about others, but we've picked these ones out, which we think were real winners, and see what you think.
That's right, our pick of the top 10. Let's have then, firstly, in at number 10, it's Tomodachi Life on the Nintendo 3DS.
Well, yes, Tomodachi Life, and there it is.
Yes, indeed, I say. Now, of course, Tomodachi Life was a bit of a simulation game from Nintendo, rather off the wall, involving Miis, wasn't it, old chap?
Yes, of course, Tomodachi Life, where you sort of create lots of Miis and then they interact with each other on the island, a bit like SimCity almost.
It was almost like Nintendo's version of SimCity,
Yes.
That's right, and the Tomodachi Life Miis that you could make actually would do silly things like marrying each other and loving each other and going out on silly adventures and working in jobs, etc. and so forth. All sorts of madcap lunacy used to go on the island, and of course it still does, I say. Now, of course, I think that it deserves the number 10 spot because it's just so quirky. It's, of course, the first time we've seen one of these crazy Tomodachi games in the UK, fresh from Japan, of course, where else I say, and I think it was quite well received by the fans of Nintendo.
Well, it was. I don't think they made huge amounts of sales of it, but I think it was, as you say, well received by them, and it was, it was quite liked. Of course, this is a 3DS game, and of course we had a similar one as well out, of course, Fantasy Life.
Well, not exactly the same. Similar in name, perhaps. Fantasy
Yes.
Life was more of an RPG, but we feel Tomodachi deserves the spot over that particular title.
Most certainly, yes. So in at number 10.
In at number 10 was Tomodachi. Then, of course, number 9, we have Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright.
Of course, Layton. Now, of course, there's loads of Layton games, and they're very, very popular for the style and the way they play.
Yes, that's right. Professor Layton's famous puzzle series, but this one was a break from the usual series format, because, of course, it had the English gentleman, Professor Layton, facing off against Phoenix Wright, ace attorney, or a professional lawyer of some sort, in a rather interesting quest and storyline. Now, of course, you'd alternate the gameplay styles between solving puzzles and cracking court cases.
Most certainly. Seems to be quite well received and appreciated. People seem to like playing the game.
That's right. Now, of course, you have to remember that originally the two characters were actually based in part off each other, as it were. You had this sort of interesting rapport between the two companies, and so they thought, well, why don't we bring these two clever characters and ideas together and make this one game?
Most certainly, and as I say, quite well received. To be honest, most of the Layton games are.
Yes, they are. Layton's quite popular.
They're always popular.
And although we didn't really have any major Phoenix Wright games recently, that doesn't seem to have affected the popularity and, of course, the hype for this game, which was very hotly anticipated for quite a long time, I think.
Most certainly, yes, as we say, well received, and
Yes.
I think, number 9 slot is, yes, not bad.
And don't forget, of course, the runner-up of that slot was indeed the other Layton game released at the start of the year, Layton's final game, Professor Layton and the Azran Legacy.
Ah, yes, of course, yes.
A puzzle game. So, of course, that was slot 9 for those, and
Right.
what's in at slot 8? This is an exciting old chap.
Well,
It's
most certainly.
Mario Golf World Tour.
Ah, yes, Mario Golf. All the Mario games of golf and things like that are often well received, like football, etc., tennis. But golf is probably one of the most popular ones, and it seemed to go down very well.
I think so. This year's entry in the Mario Golf series, the first, in fact, for some years. I believe the last 3D one we had was perhaps, too long ago, you know.
Oh, yes,
But
wow.
this particular one boasted 3D graphics, a big step up in graphics from the GameCube version, and
Yes.
a very solid online mode. Quite enjoyable to play, and indeed had a very, very satisfying and deep golf system, I think, with unlockable characters and more.
Most certainly. Now you might think, well, that's funny to put a game or a sports game in the top 10, but this one, yes, it seems to be well done and quite well received, we thought.
They did a very good job this time, and I think it was leagues ahead of the similar game Mario Tennis on the 3DS, which felt a bit, shall we say, shallow by comparison, I think.
Yes, I think I probably agree with that. Yes, there's something about the golf game that's a little bit more fun.
It was much better done, I think.
Yes.
So, in the number 8 slot there for was Mario Golf on the World Tour. And, of course, coming in at number 7 now, it's a new contender. He's just been released. His name is Captain Toad,
Yes.
Treasure Tracker.
Captain Toad, yes, out on the Wii U, and what a fun little chap he seems to be.
That's
a different
right.
Spin, it's almost like a Mario type of spin on this particular game.
Indeed, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker was, of course, taken from the Captain Toad Goes Forth levels in Super Mario 3D World from last year. They were quite a fun spin-off and diversion. Many people liked them, so Nintendo said, well, why not? Let's just make a whole game based on Captain Toad. And here it is.
Most certainly, if you'd like to see more of that, pop over to to our other channel, the Chaps Play, because we've just started a series on this. We're going to play through the entire game, and we're having a rather good amount of fun over there.
It's a blast.
It is. First one's up there. Link's just up the top there. Go and have a look, sub up, and we'll give you some more.
Yes, Captain Toad for was a rather fun game and lots of puzzles to solve therein. So taking up the number 7 slot was Captain Toad. And who's in next at number 6? Well, I think it's Monkey Business, old chap.
Almost certainly, yes, of course. Donkey Kong.
Tropical Freeze.
He's Tropical Freeze in at number 6. Now, we've got to put this one here, I think, because, I mean, the graphics on it were really, really good.
They were good,
you know,
yes.
They were really, really good.
It was a big step up from the Wii standard Wii version of the game.
Yes, great graphics, extremely difficult, as they always seem to be.
Yes.
But I would say, though, just my personal opinion there, that it was a little bit the same-ish.
It was a bit stale. Yes, I do think Donkey Kong was a little bit stale this year. We've seen a lot of this kind of thing before. I mean, they introduced some new mechanics there with, of course, Cranky and Dixie Kong making an appearance for the first time in years. And, of course, the boss battles were quite fun.
Yes.
There was also some rather splendid music and quite nostalgic music for fans of the series. But the actual game itself wasn't necessarily fresh. It was quite samey.
Exactly, yes, it was, and I think some people would probably agree with that. It's very, very samey, as we said, but the graphics were there, the gameplay was there, very difficult, so yes.
And at the end of the day, you can't argue with Donkey Kong on the Wii U, so it does deserve that number 6 slot, I think, old chap.
Yes, I think so, yes.
There's DK for you fellows. He goes back in his barrel now, for it's time for number 5, and of course we can't forget this one, in at a solid number 5, Pokemon. Yes, indeed, on the 3DS, you know.
Most certain.
Amiga Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Yes, indeed. Now, of course, both well-received games, as they always are, and always seem to be extremely popular.
Yes, an enduring series that no doubt has legions and legions of fans, and this year's entry in the series was no different, extremely popular. Although, I understand at one point, it did stir up a bit of a meme on the internet, old chap, because someone said it had too much water, I think.
Did they really? Yes,
I think so. Yes.
There was something going around about that, yes, I remember, yes.
So some people perhaps got up in arms about that a bit, I think, but on the whole, the game seems indeed to have been proven very popular with fans and delivers the same solid Pokemon gameplay we've come to expect from Nintendo.
Yes, as you say, solid, good gameplay, graphics, very respectable.
It's classic Pokemon graphics, old chap, isn't it? It's always been that way, really.
Well, it's always been that way, yes, what you'd expect, and the fans seem to like it, well received, and I think they've sold quite a few copies.
Indeed, always a popular series Pokemon with another solid entry in there at number 5, and then in at number 4 we have a decidedly new contender on the back of the traditional one there, which is of course The Legend of Zelda Hyrule Warriors.
Almost certainly, yes indeed. Now you're going into the top 5 here. And
top 4 actually.
Top 4 actually, or 5 with Pokemon. And of course, yes, Hyrule Warriors. Now the thing is with this one, we see here very, very good graphics.
Yes, the graphics were jolly good.
Yes, jolly good graphics on this one. A lot of hype surrounding the game before it came out.
I think many people did not see this one coming. In fact, if you saw this coming, raise your hand, because I don't think anyone could see a crossover between The Legend of Zelda and Dynasty Warriors coming. I mean,
no,
such an interesting and quirky idea from Nintendo there.
It was, yes, as hacking and slashing all the way through, using the popular characters from Zelda.
You can play as Link, you can play as Zelda, Ganondorf,
yes.
You can play as Midna, you can play as all these wonderful characters and actually hack your way through legions and legions of classic Zelda enemies. A very good idea, I think.
Yes, most certainly. Now, some people have said it was a bit hacky and slashy, just going through the same thing, hack more, me next sort of thing. But, you know, I've played
That's
the game.
what it's about, old chap.
Well, yes, but I've played the game myself, and it's quite challenging. You know, you've got to get to the next place and do that task before this one gets knocked out and quickly go and save that person.
Yes.
And, you know, it's quite compelling, and you sort of get into it.
Element of strategy to the whole game. You can't let your keeps fall. You've got to keep making progress. So although it's not traditional Zelda gameplay, there's no sort of dungeon crawling and puzzle solving, it is nonetheless quite an interesting and quirky entry into the Zelda series, and well worth a look if you're a fan.
Certainly, and they made some good cutscenes too.
Good cutscenes as well, that's right, they were good, I say. Then, of course, in at number 3, this particular game, my word, it received rave reviews. It is Bayonetta 2 on the Wii U.
Most certainly, Bayonetta 2. Number 3, we put this one. Yes, as you say, rave reviews, very hotly received by the fans.
Now, this, of course, was by the same studio that made the wonderful 101, a smash hit from last year, in terms of reviews at least. Yeah. And, of course, Bayonetta starring the sexy lady there, who does all her sorts of things and vast, flashy attacks against legions of enemies, etc. and so forth. But I think the overall reason for the shining reviews this game received was the gameplay, just pure gamey sort of gameplay, and of course the overall production standards, which we've come to expect from Platinum Games.
Yes, most certainly, yes. The production standards were very high on this one, which is why I think it was one of the reasons it was popularly received.
It was well received, although unfortunately, despite how well produced the game was, I don't think it actually got that many sales, old chap.
Well, I don't know. It was hotly received by those that bought it. Must have been, because it got very good reviews.
Indeed, those that saw and played the game were very happy, but a bit like last year's Wonderful 101, perhaps it didn't sell too well, which is a bit of a shame, really, because we've seen some very good games here potentially go to waste. It's not much good, you know.
Well, most certainly, yes. I mean, we're not on that now, but 101, yes, last year. I mean, what an extremely well bolted together game, and very, very well done indeed. But unfortunately, sort of a lot of time and effort put in without the the return on the back end. But
and
still.
maybe they thought that Bayonetta could save the day with her looks here, but it seems she hasn't been able to do that either. So perhaps as the Wii U sells more consoles, we may see more sales to this type of game. And that brings us on to number 2, Fedels. Start your engines, ladies and gentlemen. It's Mario Kart 8.
Yes, of course. In at number 2, Mario Kart 8. And what a game!
Yes, indeed, Isaac. The latest entry in the kart racing series, wildly popular as always, and this time we had a really well-presented game. The overall presentation was lavish, you know.
Most certainly. Lavish is a very good description, I think. I mean, plenty of courses in there, loads of new characters to play, of course, to adding DLC onto it, and I have to say, from my point of view, the graphics absolutely wonderful, really well done.
Very
Much
well
better
produced
than what we saw on the Wii, and I think it's a better game than the Wii one. Far better, I think.
Yes, there was an interesting twist this time, of course, because now you can only have one item at any one time. You can't actually drag items behind you anymore and then pick another one up from a box, you see. You can only hold one item at a time. That does change the way the game works quite a lot. It's perhaps a bit slower paced and more focused on the racing skill as opposed to the items, but certainly, if you're looking for a Mario Kart game to play this year or next year, that is the one to play. There's no other ones over that, old chap.
Oh, and there certainly is indeed. I just wanted to pick up on what you said there about the skills involved. It does take, it does take a lot of skill to play the game and actually win, whereas before, in the other one, it was all mainly about the items. If you get items, just knock people out very easily. But this one, yes, there's items in it, but you do need to use skill to actually win, which adds a nice element to it.
It's quite an interesting and unusual change for the series, and that combined with the graphics makes this a prime contender for the number 2 spot. And of course, in number 1, yes indeed, the best Nintendo game of the year, the crown and title has to go to Super Smash Brothers,
Yes, indeed, Super Smash Brothers! Yes, it has to be, most certainly, Super Smash Brothers. Of course, both on the 3DS and then on the Wii U.
That's right, first on the 3DS and then on the Wii U, and I think it can be argued quite safely that the Wii U one is the superior of the two.
Oh, no doubt about that, yes, certainly. Way superior in many different ways and lots of different things you can do on it. But once again, gameplay excellent, the presentation excellent, all that they've done very good indeed on this game.
Mr. Sakurai poured his whole soul into this game for goodness only knows how many months. He worked his fingers to the bone. There's brand new characters, I think there's 14 newcomers, there's a huge array of stages to play on, lots of modes both online and offline to keep you busy. The graphics are the best we've seen yet, and certainly I think this is the best Super Smash Bros. Game to date and very deserving of our title of the best Nintendo game of 2014.
Most certainly number 1 on the list, and I think a lot of people will agree with that. We said, yes, he put his heart into it. They should have done. They're supposed to do that. They've got to please the fans. And they certainly have done with this one.
Certainly, old boy. And with more DLC on the way, this game is certainly not done yet. It has an exciting future ahead of it, I think.
Most certainly it has. So what do you think? We've got the list there. We've put them down. What do you think about those games? Tell us. Let us know.
Indeed, Vale. Let us know your thoughts on the list. What was your favourite game this year? What do you think was the best game this year? What was the most unappreciated game this year? Etc. and so forth. Goodness me. Hi, Darcy. It's been quite a good year for Nintendo games, I think, old chap. I'm looking forward to next year.
It most certainly has, yes indeed, and as you say, we're at the end of the year, but Nintendo, they're not slowing up. They've got loads coming out next year as well, exciting titles, some we've reported on already, but it's going to be a fun year, yes.
It is, old boy, but indeed this has been Game Chairman Buddy bringing you the best games of 2014. Thank you for joining us, I say, and we look forward to seeing you once more the next exciting outing, my word. Until then!